Howdy, people. Welcome to the Phina Show. As usual, my name is Phina Brooks. Today, I have two very, very special guests here right now. And they're here to share their stories with you. It is better to tell your story yourself. As the great Nigerian author Chinua Achebe used to say, it is better for you to tell your story. Otherwise, other people will tell it for you and you will not be the hero of your own story. Until the lion learns to tell his own story, the hunt will always glorify the hunter. So therefore, we're here to tell our own story. And today, we're going to tell the story of these two beautiful people, my big brother and my sister, right here in the studio. So welcome to the Phina Show, sir.
Thank you very much for having me.
Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
All right. On my left, I have Commander Paul Smith. He is the commanding officer, York, Toronto, right?
Correct.
And my sister, I have Annie Udofia. She is the sub-lieutenant of Tecumseh, Calgary. She's also a PhD holder. That means she's a doctor as well. Sub-lieutenant, PhD, Annie Udofia. Welcome to the Phina Show.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So good to have you guys. I'm so proud of you. In fact, your uniform just cheers me up. The fact that we can see people like you in the military, in the Navy specifically, is so inspiring. And I want our young ones to learn about your stories today and see if we can get more people involved. We want to see the face of Canada in the military. We want to see the kaleidoscope of colors in the military so we can all feel like we're part of it and we're all Canadians, and proudly so.
Yes.
Why the Navy, sir?
Well, growing up as a young kid in Toronto, I didn't know much about the military at all. It's a bit of a funny story. My introduction to the Navy was because I was looking for a job in high school.
Okay.
And there was another student who challenged me to do the Summer Youth Employment Program. Now that, back in the day, was a 6-week program held in Toronto at HMCS York, where you had an opportunity to do a little bit of basic training and a better understanding of the Navy and of the military as a whole. So knowing nothing about it, but looking for a summer job, and to be honest, he bet me $50 that I wouldn't be able to complete the program.
Oh, wow.
So I took up the challenge, got on the bus that day, went downtown to HMCS York, and signed up for the program. And over that 6 weeks, I realized that it provided me with the structure that I didn't know a young rambunctious kid like me needed. And it allowed me to meet some wonderful people that I'm still in touch with today. It also brought out a sort of desire to serve the country to which I emigrated as a kid at 6 years old. And of course, it provided a decent paycheck so I could work my way through university. So it's not so much that I sought out the Navy, but I'm very fortunate that I landed where I did.
Wow, that is an amazing story. So what did your parents or your mom or dad or family think about it?
Well, being the kind of kid that I was, single mom, 4 kids, and I wanted to get out of the house and do my own thing. I was 17 years old at the time, so I just mentioned to my mom that I was doing a summer job. I didn't really say what it was.
Whoa.
Now, back in those days, they shipped your uniform to your house. After you started doing basic training. And so my mom first noticed that I was in the military when she came home from work early and saw me trying on my uniform in the mirror and sort of looked at me and said, "What is all of this?"
Yeah, is it a costume or something?
So it led to a nice long conversation, everything from, respecting your parents and letting them know what decisions you're making in life, especially your mom, who's sacrificing so much for the 4 of us. But also it allowed her to set some boundaries. How long are you going to do this? How is this going to affect your education? What do you want to achieve? So through her, I got to sort of put out a longer term plan for the Navy because I had never even asked myself those questions.
Right.
So it was great that she was so supportive. She remained supportive for my entire career.
Nice, that is beautiful. Wow, very, very interesting. And in fact, when I first heard you speak about your story, how you joined, I was so inspired and I said, I can enjoy this story myself. We need to share the story with our youths out there and the young people out there thinking of what careers to go into. Now, sis, what's your story? Why the Navy?
Okay, well, mine goes a bit back to when I grew up in Calabar in Cross River State of Nigeria. It's a coastal city.
Right.
So part of during my high school years, I would, come across the different, military officials.
Yeah.
Mostly the Navy, because you could pick them out in their
Right,
white uniform.
right.
So I would see them, you know, around the export trade zone. I think they still have that in Calabar now. I would go there with some friends to just visit the area and then come across them. And then I would know that they would do some humanitarian missions around the city from time to time.
Right.
So I got pulled to that, attracted to that. But I wouldn't go that way because I had parents, well, my parents are professors, so they have this strict, you know, path. They want you to sort of explore.
That's right.
Go to school, have an education, which is key to everything we do, pretty much. So, of course, I went to the university, and after the university, we usually have the 1-year mandatory youth service, where you get posted to different parts of the country away from where you school.
Right.
So I got posted to specifically Kebbi State, northern Nigeria. Very hot, very arid climate. And when we got to the camp, the 3 weeks camp training, I had the most exciting time of my life being trained by the military.
Wow.
When folks were running away and being very uncomfortable, I was in the forefront asking, when are we going jogging?
Oh.
Yeah, I was weird that way, but I enjoyed it.
Wow.
So I was having a blast, you know, going for the parade practices. I ended up being in the color party, height advantage, if you know what I mean.
Right, right.
Yeah, so it was a good experience. So that after that, during the 1 year, there was this humanitarian project with World Health Organization, polio immunization.
Right.
So I volunteered to be part of it. And in the process of it, the military was also like our support system. You know, they would come out, guide us through the community, any form of interpretation, because mostly it was the Hausa speaking communities.
Right.
So they wouldn't really understand English when we're trying to do our stuff. So it was just a fantastic experience I had. So I took that away, and that stuck with me. And I knew that somewhere, somehow, I was going to find myself in the military, but I didn't know when, and I didn't know how. So that's just you know, a bit of a background of what sparked my interest, you know, in just joining the military, not just any of the forces. I wasn't really drawn to the Army or the Air Force. I have a fear of flight.
But you're not afraid of
I'm not afraid of
water.
the water, no,
Yeah.
nope. So that's, you know, what got me interested. But of course, as life would happen, I had to travel overseas for my postgraduate program. And getting here, I made inquiries. I tried to find out what does it take to join. And I was told you have to be a citizen first, right? As of back then, it's changed now.
Right.
So
Also now, as a permanent resident,
permanent
you can
residents
join.
can enroll, exactly.
Oh, wow.
So I had it in my back pocket, went to school, did what I was doing, and my eyes were still on the goal. You know, that when I'm done, I would still go back and initiate the process, and that's what I did, and that's why I'm here today.
Wow. What an amazing story, both of you. Very inspiring indeed. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. No, not go anywhere. We did come back just now. We'll soon as soon.
When are we gonna stop singing about Africa?
My people, we don't come back. Today I deal with Commander Paul Smith and Sub-Lieutenant Annie Udofia. My people, not be small. Then get better story. When you go inspire our young people, especially the ones when they don't know what they go do yet with their lives. Make them at least explore this part of life, this part of career, whether it go good for them. As they switch for my sister and my brother. So, in fact, I would say you guys were born for this. You don't only look good in your uniforms, you are so smart and you excel in it. So that is why I say it is quite inspiring. Now, let's find out more. So when you got in, what was the most challenging part of joining the Navy for you, especially at the beginning?
Well, at the beginning it was developing an understanding of what the Navy was and what it did. Again, my first 6 weeks I was just looking for a summer job, and back in those days, when you completed your 6 weeks of training, you went home and you waited to be called back. I joined as a reservist, so I was doing it while I was finishing up high school and while I was going through university and serving on a part-time basis. Some of the most difficult things for me, the physical fitness portion of it was fine. The educational part of it for me was fine. But the first time I ever went to sea, So I completed my general military training the second summer, and then right after that, I went on board ship for the first time on HMCS Phina. This would have been 1987 or 1988.
Right.
And it was my first time being at sea. Never been to sea before.
Oh my gosh.
And you know, it's very structured. It's certainly not a cruise ship.
Right.
It's very structured. There's a lot of hard work. We were doing a training exercise that took us over across the Atlantic and over to England. And dealing with the seasickness initially for me was an issue. I got my sea legs during this trip. So it became a lot more manageable, but there's a change in lifestyle when you're at sea. And if it's something that you've never done before, and for most people it isn't, getting accustomed to what that life is at sea, getting accustomed to the watch rotation. Right? One night you're up from midnight till 4 o'clock, and then sleeping for a few hours and then getting up for the workday. And that depends on the mission. So it's not 8 hours of sleep, it's not your typical day that you have ashore. There's certain differences with being at sea that you need to become accustomed to succeed. So that was my initial hurdle, was getting through that. If I don't mind me saying, there were not a lot of people that looked like me in the Navy either. The Royal Canadian Navy, especially back then, was not particularly diverse. I never saw another black face for, I think, the first few years of my career, at least, and certainly no inspirational leaders, no black leaders at a higher level.
To look up to and ask questions.
And ask questions about, and so I found that a bit frustrating, but I also understood that was just the nature of the Navy at the time.
And Canada at that time, too.
And Canada at that time as well. I'm proud to say that we're progressing. We're certainly not there yet.
Yes.
But we're making more strides, and I fully believe that the more people of color that are in uniform, the young people will be able to see that. They'll be able to see themselves reflected in those individuals, and it'll let them know that if they can succeed in this organization, so can I.
That's right. Wow. I'm actually curious. As a Navy officer, do you get to go in the submarine?
So I've been in the submarine once. The submarine division is a separate, not separate.
Is it like a specialized?
Yes, it's very specialized, very different. There's submarine training. You have to go through their specific trade-specific requirements, depending on if you want to drive the subs or if you want to drive a surface ship. I'm also 6'2". So
you will fit too well in those.
A couple of tours I took on board the submarine included me wearing a hard hat to make sure I don't bang my head on the pipings. But I will say I've met and spoken with quite a few submariners who are very passionate about the being a submariner, and life on board subs suits them. And I think that speaks to the customizable career you can have in the military. You can always find something that suits you.
Yes.
You'll be able to find
your personality as well.
Your personality, what you want to get out of it. It's very accommodating that way.
Okay.
We ask a lot of the individuals that sign up, and that goes across the entire Canadian Armed Forces. You're asked to sign a check up to and including your life. In times of conflict. But you can also take a lot from it, whether it's the education, whether the experience and opportunity to see the world. So it's a great relationship that way.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That is amazing. Amazing. So what has been your challenge, or what was your challenge when you joined at first?
Okay, mine is not as technical as his. But I would say that, I joined up in 2018, and as of that time, as a reservist as well, because the flexibility to be posted to either of the two coasts was not really an option for me, right? So I didn't go the rec force. I decided to go reservist.
Right.
So I had very young kids as of that time,
right? And
I needed to go away for about 6 weeks for the basic military officer training. I went to Vimy in Quebec.
Right.
So I had to. It was a little bit tough because my spouse had the kind of job that takes him out of town
as well.
Often.
So both of you can't just leave the kids.
So that was going to be a lot of calculation on my part to make it happen. But quitting was not an option as far as I'm concerned. So I went away, obviously, and it was tougher on the kids than it was on me because I was in my elements, right, when I went away. But somehow, it was a bit of a struggle for them, health-wise and all, and what have you.
Right.
So, but that would be if I look back, that would be one of the biggest challenge.
Right.
Being in the reserves is not really challenging because you are doing what you love.
Right.
Especially for me, I have this niche that pulls me in, which is the community engagement, stakeholder engagement. you know, diversity and inclusion, which is another portfolio I do manage at the unit as well.
Right.
So those are the things that sort of get me going, makes me wake up, you know, in the morning and be excited with what I do.
Right.
So I don't really have so much of a challenging experience apart from that one.
That's right.
All right.
That's right. That is beautiful. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Commander, back to you. You see how the world is today. If you can be God for one day, just one day, God says, my son, Paul, I want to give you all my powers for one day. What would you change or fix in the world?
Wow. Where to start with that one?
That's fun, isn't it?
It is. It is.
To have all that power.
It's hard fun.
Given the way the world is right now, and you know, from a military perspective, the dangerous scenario,
Right.
you know, that we see globally, sort of wave a wand and institute peace
Right.
will be my first thing, and not just a snap of a finger and just say we'll stop all the fighting, but get people in a situation where they learn to understand one another and appreciate one another.
Right.
It's not just about stopping the fighting. You know, you can mandate that with ceasefires, you can mandate that with you know, sort of extreme military presence, but really developing a true understanding and a love for other cultures and one another. That'd be my first step.
Nice, that's beautiful. What about you?
In addition to that,
Yes.
I would say that, you know, I think the level of suffering, you know, I know it's called life, but what I would do is to sort of just, you know, eradicate poverty, you know, across board, right? And just make everyone just enjoy life,
Right.
you know,
Enough for
at the
everyone.
purest form, right? That's what I would do, even if it's for one day.
Right.
And then we can go back to it after.
Right.
Yeah.
Hopefully not. Maybe that will
Hopefully not.
reset
That will
everything.
reset
I think it would.
everything.
Reset the brain of all humanity.
Right. That's right.
Right, right. So now, if there is anyone, living or dead, that you could bring back to life, who will it be?
Wow. That's a tough
You
one.
have the power of God, and you can literally bring someone else who has been dead for
I am
2,000 years, 1,000 years, 100 years, 20 years,
Anybody,
10
huh?
years, anyone.
I'm gonna be pretty selfish.
Go
with
ahead.
this. My mom passed in 2010, and for years prior, I had been in Halifax and at sea. And when she took ill, I didn't get a chance to come home as much. I know there's some, you know, world figures that a lot of people would answer this question and come and sort of heal us. So apologize for being selfish, but I'd bring mom back just long enough to say thanks.
Right.
And you know, I appreciate now as an adult what I didn't as a kid, the struggles that she had to go through to raise 4 kids on her own in a
Right.
new country and a job. I'm not sure she really appreciated it, but she knew she had to sacrifice for the kids, and I never got a chance to say thank you. So I think that's what I'd do.
That's fair.
Yeah.
You're allowed to be selfish once in a while.
Once in a
We're
while.
humans, right? What about you?
Oh my goodness. While he was talking, I was trying to go through my brain. Who can I do this for? Because my both parents are still here.
Thank God for that.
Yeah, thank God for that. I'm grateful for that. So I think I would go with a music icon.
Okay, who's that?
Okay.
Michael Jackson?
Michael Jackson.
Yay!
Michael Jackson. All right.
I
Right.
enjoyed his music, right?
Right,
So
right.
it's quite still evergreen, you know. Even
And
with
what
him
would you
long
say
gone.
to Michael when you
Oh.
bring him back?
I mean, I don't have to say anything. I'll just be like, hey, keep living.
Keep singing.
Keep
Yeah,
singing.
keep singing.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So, if you can transport yourself from here, right now, you're given that, remember that power from God,
Right.
and you can literally transport yourself from here and be anywhere on the planet, where would you be? And why?
Well, it seems like I'm always being selfish here. But, given the devastation the hurricane has caused in my home country of Jamaica, I'd like to go back, figure out a way to go back somewhere and help. And I know I don't need godly powers to be able to,
Right,
to
right,
do
right.
that, but you know, certain people's situations are such that it makes it difficult. And going back and being able to integrate in some sort of disaster relief if they
Right.
need it. But as of today, that's probably what I do.
Right. What about you?
In my own case, I would say my goal is actually to visit about 15 countries between now and 34. There's nothing really happening. It's
Right.
just a goal.
Yes,
So,
bucket list.
but right now, I would start that trip by making a tour of Europe.
Right.
Right. So that's where I would go, just to see the place, experience the place. Though I've been to the UK, but I mean, I'm talking
The
Europe.
rest of Europe, yes.
Exactly.
Okay.
What's your most favorite?
I would think
And
the
why?
city of love. You know what that is.
Paris. Oui,
there
oui,
you
oui. Right. I think it's overrated though.
Well,
I was in
bucket list,
Champs-Élysées
remember?
and I'm like, is this it? Like, is this it?
Is there more?
Right. I thought it would be something magical.
Oh,
I
wow.
guess my imagination was a bit,
Too high.
Yeah,
Don't
too high.
have too high an expectation.
Yeah, it was. So happy to be with you guys, be in your midst. Now, we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. I'm here with Commander Paul Smith and Sub-Lieutenant Annie Udofia. We'll be right back.
When are we gonna stop singing about Africa?
And we are back. I'm here with Commander Paul Smith and Sub-Lieutenant Annie Udofia. Commander,
Yes.
so if a young person is looking at you right now and they're considering what to do with their lives, they have not explored the military and specifically the Navy, what would you advise them to do?
Well, if anybody's considering joining and they want to get more information, I first recommend going to forces.ca. I know the kids now are all over the internet, so that's the first place to start, and that will answer a lot of the common questions. Sort of, what do I need to do to join? What are the basic requirements? And who should I get in touch with to ask some more questions? If you're here in Calgary. You can go down to, you can contact HMCs to come see, and they have a recruiting department there. If you want an in-person interview and you're not in the area, there are several recruiting offices that are set up across the country. You can look one of those up, and I'm sure there will be one in your city, and you can go in and speak to one of the recruiters. I would advise everybody that that's the first step. If you are, and there's so many options in the Navy, in the military. If you're somebody who's looking to do this part-time through university, the recruiters will tell you about the educational benefits that apply. You can do it on a reserve basis, which is essentially 1 day a week, 1 Saturday a month during the training year, which mirrors the school year. And there are 24 Naval Reserve divisions across the country. So in each major city across the country, you'll find a Naval Reserve division close to you where you can sign up, where you can do your training. And again, it's very customizable. If you can't make the basic 14 days out of the training year, then you can talk to the supervisors and we can adjust the schedule based on school. If you want to join full-time in the regular force, then you'll go to one of the recruiting centers. They'll explain the entire procedure to you, and you can sign up. But make sure you go in prepared to ask the questions so that you can find the program that best fits you and your lifestyle.
Nice, wow. You heard that. So go to forces.ca, right?
Forces.ca.
Forces.ca and check it out. You never know, you might just be built for that. Right.
Canada represents a fabric of different races.
Right.
So, like the commander said earlier, before now it was a bit skewed, right? It wasn't really, represented properly. But now we have more people coming in, we have more interests, we have more representation. So I would really encourage, especially the females,
Yes.
we have a fewer number of females, if I will put it that way, that are, that look like us.
Right.
So I would say that it's important to ask the questions, reach out to those you see that are already in uniform and ask them, what did you do? How did you get in there? And how can I explore it? And then from there, from what they say, you can also see, your area of interest, where it lies. And then from there, of course, you can walk into one of the recruiting centers or send an email or make a phone call or just, express your interest and then follow through the process. Because it's not very tedious as we see from the outside. We think being in the military is, maybe it's not an easy job. But I want to say that anything you put your mind to do and you have the tools for it, you can definitely succeed at it.
That's
Absolutely.
right. That's right. You have anything to add to that?
No, that was
Perfect.
beautifully said.
Yes,
Beautifully said.
yes. If someone is so unsure and they want to, can they give it a try for a little bit? And like the reservists,
Reserves.
and then decide not to do it?
They can. That'll happen at any sort of program that you join, or any way that you join the military, you always have an option to release if it doesn't fit. If you're looking to try it before you buy it, we have a program called the Naval Experience Program that's just recently started, and really for if you're a young person graduating high school who's looking to take a gap year or isn't sure what they want to do before university. This program is specifically a 9 or 10 month program that allows you to join the Navy. They'll send you to the east or the west coast. They'll allow you to do basic training, and they'll run you through all the different career options that you have, all the different trades on board ship. One day you could be a diver, next day you'll be a cook, then you'll be a human resources administrator, and then you'll be a bosun, the people that drive the small fast boats and work on the weapons. But they'll run you through to see what fits you best. At the end of that 9 months, if we're not a fit for you or you're not a fit for us, we'll terminate the contract. If you choose to stay on, then you'll be granted all the credits that you received during the Naval Experience Program. Yeah.
Once you finish that and you decide, I'm going to join,
Yes.
you have to sign like 3 years, 5 years?
Yes, if you're regular force, you'll sign a terms of service based on how long you want to stay in. If you're a reservist, then you're assigned to the Naval Reserve Division, and then you I don't want to say play by ear, but then you show up and you do your training, and at any point during the training year or during the summer, if you feel you no longer want to stay in, then you can release.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So it's not too hard, guys.
It's not complicated at all.
It's not complicated. It's so easy. So if you want to explore the Navy or any of the Canadian forces, the Army, the Air Force, Navy, and even RCMP, whichever, police, whatever, anything. Let's see most of us. Let's see some of us in uniform in Canada, please, because Canada is really a melting pot now. We have everyone here in Canada, and it's a kaleidoscope of colors, of people. Let us see ourselves in military. So if you're not sure what to do, you're not sure where to go, why not explore? It's fun, and you get paid on top of it.
Exactly.
And if you decide to join, you can also go to school for free, right?
You can go to
There's
school
a program
for free. There's a program for going
Yeah,
for
tell
free.
us about that, because some kids might prefer that.
Yeah,
Yes.
if you want to join the regular force and you're looking to go to military college, we have the Royal Military College in Kingston, and if you're accepted into that program, well then yes, your university is for free, books are paid for, housing is paid for, you receive full benefits because you are a service member, excuse me, in uniform at that point. They'll also employ you during the summer, so you're in university, but you're also receiving a paycheck. If you're doing it through the reserves, there's several different programs, but there is an educational reimbursement of $2,000 a year for being a reservist while you're still in university. So when I said earlier that the programs are customizable, and when you go into the recruiting office and sit down, make sure you ask all the questions so that we can make sure and assign the best fit for you as the individual while you're serving in the forces.
Very easy, very easy.
Walked across this really long parking lot, and I thought, oh, what did I do wrong?
Right.
I'm gonna be in trouble. And he was black, and he got closer to the car, and I'm like, can I help you? And he just stopped and saluted and said, sir. And I said, can I help you? He's like, I've just never seen a black officer before. So I wanted to make sure I came over and saluted you. And then we had a lovely talk, and he's like, and Halifax is big, right? It's one of our big bases, in the Navy.
Because of the water.
Yeah, of course. And that's where the fleet is located. And he's been patrolling that area for years, and I was the first black officer he thought. So that really stuck with me as the importance of representation. Just having somebody there in uniform. If this person was, if it was a black naval cadet, that was coming out of the car, he still would have come over. Because that connection based on culture, is pretty strong.
It is.
And it's kind of fulfilling when you see somebody else.
Yes. That's why when I saw you guys, I'm like, oh, this is beautiful. So I'm like, wow, we have that?
Yeah.
Because I don't see them. I was at the parade and I was looking out. I saw a few at with the RCMP, but
You probably left when we came passing in whites.
I was there.
Okay, you meant our color.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, our
I see what
people.
you
Yes.
mean. I see what you mean. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So I was really impressed, and I'm like, oh, this is good, and we need to tell our youth, show our youths that it is possible.
Yeah.
You know.
I noticed that quite a bit in the parade as well, because I made a point of
really
looking
paying
for
attention.
the black participants and then making eye contact and waving so that they knew. And there were some kids that were like, Mom, Dad, look what's going on.
Yes.
It fills you with a sense of pride.
Right.
And it's obvious that they had just never seen it before.
Right.
They never understood it. Right? So, Hopefully.
Yes.
We'll get
Yeah.
more numbers in.
Yeah. I love that you guys did this. You took a chance and you got it. And it's like you were actually made for it, built for it, born for it, you know?
Yeah.
Yes.
The military does a good job of molding you into it.
Exactly.
Sometimes
That's what I
you'll
wanted to say.
you'll initially put on the uniform and
you're not
it doesn't
sure.
fit.
Yeah.
And then at some point during your career, you realize
you
that
sort of transition into.
You'll get that sense early on that, okay, I've earned the right to wear this uniform.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's when the sort of the molding starts, and where the uniform just fits better.
Yep.
And you want to be in it more often.
That's right.
And by fitting better, mentally fit better.
Yeah.
You know, So it's not like just the physical, but just mentally. You've sort of gotten into the role.
And you start to lose that imposter syndrome.
Yep.
Right.
Right? Everybody joins, you go through basic training. Look, everybody who's ever gone through basic training, at the end of basic training, they feel like they can take over the world.
Exactly.
I've just spent this entire summer or this entire year, sleeping in the field, getting up at 5 o'clock in
Weird
the morning or
hours,
at midnight for a forced march with a
rifle.
backpack and a rifle that I had to take care of, and the amount of things that you realize you can accomplish on little sleep, and how to be alert, and how to look after yourself, and how to look after the person
Others,
on your left and your right. When you're done basic training, you always get that sense of,
I can do anything.
if I can do this,
I can do anything.
I can do everything.
Yeah, and then you build lifelong friendship as well.
Right.
Yeah, your fire buddies and all of that. Like they stay in your life for like forever. Yeah,
I have friends that I'm still in touch with. Still good friends that I did my initial basic training in 1986, and we're still together. The general military training my first time in Halifax. Well, those guys ended up being my university roommates.
Wow.
And so we've stayed in touch and managed to stay in each other's lives for this time, and that bond developed early on in basic training, and it's pretty strong.
Yes. Mostly two things that I admire in the military. Any of them, whether it's Air Force, Navy, Army, anyone. It's the discipline and the camaraderie that you see amongst the military.
Yeah, definitely.
It's amazing. It's just so good.
Very strong.
Yes, it's so encouraging. That is so good. So, but you have kids.
I have two boys,
Okay.
Colin and Matthew.
How old are they?
Colin is 27,
Okay.
and Matthew is 22.
Okay.
Colin's a lawyer working for Legal Aid in Nova Scotia. That was his passion.
Right.
An opportunity, as most lawyers do, to work in the corporate world and make a little bit more money, so that Dad could be in a good home.
Right.
But he chose to go with his passion, and that's
Right.
defending people and helping people who just need that kind of help.
Right.
Yeah.
The younger one, Matthew, just starting his master's at U Ottawa.
Okay.
Graduated with a degree in kinesiology, and is doing his master's in sports performance. He wants to work with an NBA team. Well, he wants to work with the WNBA team.
Okay.
And that's sports performance includes sort of mental health,
Right.
how to overcome different things, as well as the physical part of it. So he's really looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Wow. I thought maybe one of your kids would be in the military.
So the older one was in the military. He
Briefly,
joined
right?
the reserves. He was in
Okay.
for 5 years, I believe.
Okay.
But found it difficult to manage where he wanted to go in his career with
Right,
law,
right.
and the time required to become a naval warfare
advance,
officer like me. So he went through all the coursing. He finished his NO4 course on board ship. Proud daddy moment. Proud
Right.
to say that he received the award for the most officer-like qualities for his class.
Okay.
But then didn't pursue it,
Right.
which is fine.
Right.
It
He
does fit,
tried
but
it?
it might not. He tried it. He did it for 4 years. He
That's
dedicated
good.
himself. He, still in touch with a bunch of his friends from
Right.
basic training, from all the training. The best call I ever got from him was partway through his first year, his first summer of basic training. They had a weekend off. He found a payphone, and he called me, and he said, "Dad, you're right." And I said, "Hold on a second. Mom, come here."
Yes.
And I put him on speakerphone. I didn't care what I was right
Yes,
about.
exactly.
Just the fact that my
That
son
you said you're
I
right.
was right. Right about what? And,
Right.
and then he went on to explain right about the experiences that you said I was going to have,
Yeah.
the people I was going to meet. He's a tall kid who plays basketball, but he's also into comic books, and he's also into, the law, and he's also into, he was back then very much into politics. And he said, I found somebody I could talk to about everything in the group that we were with, and that group is still together. So
Right.
it provided that, and it provided the discipline, like you talk about this discipline, the discipline and the structure. He still gets up in the morning and makes his bed.
Right.
He's not in anymore, but he still gets up
Yes.
before he goes to work. He'll make his bed. Right. So
They really
it was
instill
good.
that thing in
Yeah,
you
yeah.
that
Yeah.
you just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That is
really
amazing.
good.
Would you allow your children to go into the military?
If they're interested, I see you use the word allow. It's
Not allow. I think
Yeah,
that's.
yeah.
Would you encourage your children to,
all right,
to join the
all
military?
right. Yeah, if they're very much interested, I don't see why not. Yeah, two young girls seeing what mom is doing,
Right.
and then growing up, they can make that choice. I would give my full support.
That's
Definitely.
right. I'm sure when it's a career day at work and they have to bring their parents and they bring you and they go, "Who's your hero?" "My mommy." And it's
So
amazing.
it's funny you mentioned that because I think 2 or 3 years in a row now, there's this during the veteran event in November. So the schools reach out to our unit and ask for sailors to come,
Right.
be part of the ceremony. So my daughter says, "Don't sign up for any school. You're coming to mine."
Wow, there you go.
And both of them, their schools do the events at the same time. So I'm like, okay, I have to cut it in the middle. Go here, then go here.
Right. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness, that is
Yeah,
amazing.
So they're always very proud
Yes.
when that happens.
That's right. I'm sure you're the hero. No
course.
contest. And that is beautiful. We're here with Commander Paul Smith, Sub-Lieutenant Annie Udofia. Don't go away.
When are we gonna stop singing about Africa?
We're back and we're here with the beautiful Commander Paul Smith. He's a commanding officer of the HMCS York in Toronto. And our beautiful sister Annie here, Annie Udofia, PhD. She's a sub-lieutenant of Tecumseh, Calgary. Now, my people, it is now the fun part. We've talked about the military, we talked about their careers. Let's find out about their fun part, because it can't all be too serious. There has to be some fun part of them, right? So, Commander, if it wasn't the Navy, what other profession would you have considered?
Well, when I was a kid, I played a lot of basketball in high school and in university, but I'm not going to say professional basketball player
Right.
because wasn't
You
that
have the
good,
height,
had
but
the height,
maybe not the
didn't have the much of the skill as,
Yeah,
as
exactly.
I thought. But I always wanted to be a teacher. I always wanted to be a teacher, high school level. I found engaging with the youth to be extremely rewarding.
Right.
One of the jobs I had previously was the commandant of the Naval Fleet School, and it's a 1,000-person training facility that the Navy has, and I was charged with bringing it out of COVID. And I got to walk around and go to some of the classrooms and see, it's a different teaching dynamic because it's all military personnel being taught.
Right.
But it's still I have that kind of dream, and maybe that's a retirement thing for me. But yeah, definitely teacher.
All right. What about you, Sub-Lieutenant?
No worries. So because of my interest in, anything humanitarian, I had actually wanted to be a medical doctor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
I'm sure that's what your parents would have loved you to.
thank you for
In
saying that.
Nigeria, your parents want you to either be a lawyer,
Yeah,
a doctor, an engineer,
and others.
And others. The rest is, no, those three are the 1, 2, or 3. That's
Yeah.
your those are your choices.
I know, but
Otherwise, no matter what you do, they don't appreciate
they don't
it.
like it. So that would have been what I would have pursued, because just before, while I was in the university, I used to volunteer with the Ministry of Health in Calabar. So we would go to northern Nigeria there was this river blindness project that was ongoing for about 3 to 4 years.
Okay.
So I would volunteer, I would get paid for it, and
Wow.
I had a blast. I would go meet the community, engage, find out, use some medical terminologies I wouldn't even understand what
Yeah.
I'm saying, but
Right.
I was in the weed of it.
Right.
So so that was an area that I would have pursued if I didn't have to stay in school for so long, because before you become a doctor, you have
Right.
to burn the candle for a
Right,
while.
right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Commander. Thank you, Sub-Lieutenant, for coming to the Phina show and chatting with us today. It was really a pleasure and, in fact, an honor to be here with you.
Thank you so much.
And thank you. And I hope you got something from it. And if you have any questions, just go to forces.ca. Forces.ca and explore. You never know. You may be built for the military. Check it out. Now, let's say goodbye to everybody by waving.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Take care, everyone.